I'm very much interested in what I called the tangible traces left by an exhibition in my previous research statement. And for this project, I initially examined individual websites, scrutinizing how museums present themselves online. I focused particularly on the placement and seeming effectiveness, or ineffectiveness, of navigation menus and the ways in which the museum websites presented their exhibitions online. For example, I started out by looking at the top-ranked liberal arts school in the United States, according to U.S. News & World Report, Williams College, assuming that their top ranking, though admittedly somewhat arbitrary, might correspond to good website practices. So I looked at the various entry points on the Williams College Museum of Art website. The site has 2 different horizontal menus at the head of the page, 6 additional clickable images leading to various types of content in the middle of the page, including links to hours and admission information and the 2014 strategic plan, and additional links at the base of the page. There's also a search box and a box for subscribing to the WCMA's newsletter. There are also links to Facebook and an RSS feed. In total, there are 5 ways to approach the website, as I've sketched out in my little drawing, included here, and there are the additional links out to social media. The images in the middle of the page, I might add, are not actually explained in any way. I suppose then my experience analyzing the anatomy of the WCMA's webpage led me to believe that it was overly complex. Without further evaluation of the site and comparison of how it fared in relation to its peers, it was difficult to draw any conclusions based on this research. So then I looked at the Princeton University Art Museum website as a comparison and scrutinized the online presentation of exhibitions there. Looking specifically at the online exhibition section, which has actually changed since I started this investigation in June, I examined each of the exhibitions listed, although one of them is actually a site for the Asian art collection, so isn't actually an exhibition in the sense of being narrative dependent. Again, my notes reflected dissatisfaction with competing options, too many navigation bars, images, and other links to select from. I also had difficulty navigating back to the museum's homepage after entering these exhibitions. So this investigation of museum websites continued, as evidenced in this Excel spreadsheet. Yet I found it difficult to draw conclusions based solely on this data. Perhaps it was partly because it was quite unwieldy and incredibly time-consuming to dissect each and every website. Each one took approximately 1 day of work, and the results, or lack thereof, weren't really worth all the probing. So it seemed I needed to look at the smaller scale or at individual projects rather than entire museum websites. This also required me to look outside the world of liberal arts colleges and their museums and art galleries. So I decided to use a data set from the 2015 Museums in the Web website. Every year, Museums in the Web hosts a Best of the Web contest to identify the best museum work occurring on the web. Sites are nominated by museum professionals, undergo a public voting process, and are reviewed by the Best of the Web committee. So compared to my somewhat arbitrary judgments, it felt like this data might be a little bit more concrete. The Best of the Web's definition of a digital exhibition is, quote, a site or app that excels in presenting, interpreting, supplementing, and/or being important components of museums, providing rich and meaningful digital exhibitions. They may be a section of a larger museum website or be a collaborative project among institutions and/or individuals and communities associated with museums based on exhibitions. Valued characteristics include the effective use of multiple media formats, innovative ways of complementing physical exhibitions or providing surrogates for physical experiences in online-only exhibitions, new ways of representing museum processes and structures. Quality characteristics include the effective use of multiple media formats, innovative ways of complementing physical exhibitions are providing surrogates for physical experiences in online-only exhibitions, new ways of representing museum processes and structures, imaginative audience participation and engagement of different categories of visitors. I was also intrigued by the Best of the Web's long-lived category, a category for websites that have demonstrated a long-term commitment to an excellent online presence of any kind. In this category, quality characteristics include adapted to current user behaviors, creatively reused content, sustained use by and engagement with site visitors, kept material reliable and consistent, continued to grow in available resources over time, ongoing organizational commitment to long-term site development and use, and alignment with the vision and long-term strategy of the sponsoring institution. As sustainability is one of the key issues with these online projects, I was particularly interested in this area as well. So perhaps at this final moment of the summer term, I finally stumbled upon some models for the kind of narrative work that digital exhibitions can accomplish. Digital Stories, produced by the Wellcome Collection and Library and the digital agency Clear Left, is a website that absolutely foregrounds narrative. The rest of the Wellcome Library's site is honestly fairly unnavigable and overwhelming, with far too many things going on, and it took me a while to actually figure out what the Wellcome Collection is. I found eventually that it is a collection located at 183 Euston Road in London that explores the connections between medicine, life, and art in the past, present, and future. Anyway, Digital Stories is doing what Hyperallergic describes as, quote, interactive storytelling, unquote. According to Danny Burkhall, Wellcome Digital Manager and Executive Producer for Digital Stories, the Wellcome is less interested in creating virtual versions of exhibitions than in making digital a meaningful part of the program itself. This site may in fact be something we'd want to replicate as a component of our Decomposing Bodies project. There are parts of our story that would certainly adapt well to a digital environment such as this. Once a visitor is within the Digital Stories website and clicks on an element of the story, the narrative proceeds in a predetermined fashion. As a simulacrum of a physical exhibition, this site does very well. It is almost performative in its inclusion of sound effects, but is also consequently immersive. In order to make their online story program sustainable, the Wellcome, in collaboration with Clear Left, actually created what they describe as a reusable HTML JavaScript pattern library that can be deployed to create additional stories. As reported in The Guardian on the 23rd of January, the Wellcome Library has been looking outwards, finding inspiration in long-form journalism of the type demonstrated by the New York Times Snowfall Project, shown here, for example, and the BBC's I Wonder project, including this project devoted to telling the story of Fidel Castro. There are similar, more recent projects that follow the pattern of what I'd call a photo essay with audio accompaniment, which employ two forms of media to engage the audience, or more, much as I am attempting to do here. Perhaps some of my challenges this summer came from the fact that I was looking too inwardly at the things occurring in the museum world, rather than at the broader context of the various types of narrative occurring in journalism and beyond.